right, so I am just going to go over this very quickly here. We're asked to factor the following. Now, there are 3 separate ways that we can factor a polynomial. What is the first way we can factor? Yes, sum or difference of not squares, of cubes, right? And in order for this to work, they have to be what? Perfect cubes. What's the second way? What's the second way to factor? That we did in this warm-up. Factor by grouping. And what do we need to have in order to use factor by grouping? 4 terms. And then what's the last way? Yes. Quadratic form. This is like the catch-all. If you can't do the first 2, try the last one. Try quadratic form. If the first 2 don't work, you try quadratic form. And then if quadratic form doesn't work, it can't be factored. I am going to tell you that in order to use quadratic form, your leading term, well, actually all of your variables, exponents have to be even. For example, if I had y equals x to the 4th plus 2x squared plus 3, I can use quadratic form to factor this. If this had been this instead, can I use quadratic form? If I erase the square, it's not even. So I couldn't replace this with another variable that makes it a quadratic. We won't be that mean to you, though. But that's just for you to know. So here, what tells us what to use? We have 4 terms, so we use what? Factor by grouping. Ooh, yes. I used the sticks in first period, so I'm going to use them again here. Yes. How do I start factoring by grouping, Gracie? Wonderful. Then what I have to do, Aria?
You have to take out for the first one, you can take out the x cubed.
Yes, you take out the GCF of x cubed. And what are we left with on the inside, Ella?
We have x and y.
Wonderful. And then what can I take out of the second 2, Dario? What GCF goes into both of these?
16.
And I want to make sure the inside is the same as the first inside. So not only am I going to take out a 16, I'm also going to take out a
Negative.
Wonderful. And what am I left with on the inside, Preeti? Yes. And what do I stop and ask myself here to make sure I'm doing this right, Stephen? What do you stop and ask yourself? If the insides are the same, you're doing this right. Are your insides the same? Yes. So we're doing this right. So, Gabby, what is my first factor? Yes, it is the outside GCFs. And then what is my second factor, Juliet? Wonderful. Now, really, if we were being on the same mathematical page as we always are, is this the order you would write the factors in? Does it matter what order they go in? Let me ask that. Does it matter what order they go in? No. But remember, what are we technically doing from step 2 to 3? What did we learn we do here to get from step 2 to 3? You're technically doing what? Remember when we derived the difference of cubes, you had 3 terms that all had the same parentheses. So what did you do? How did you simplify? You pulled the GCF out. So what are you doing from step 2 to 3? You're pulling the GCF of x minus 1 out. So x minus 1 really would be written in front because it's our GCF. But does it matter? No. So we can write it like this. Now, what do you ask yourself on this step, Jazz? What do you ask yourself?
If they're perfect squares.
You ask yourself, can it be factored further, right? So this first one, no, you got it right. You got it right. I'm just restating it. You got it right. I'm just restating it. So this first one is a cubic, right? So it possibly could be factored more. Possibly. Now, the only ways that it could be factored are as if this was a sum or difference of cubes or a difference of squares. So, like Jazz said, we ask ourselves, are they perfect cubes? Are both of these perfect cubes? X cubed and 16. No, the 16 is not a perfect cube. Are they both perfect squares? No, the x cubed is not a perfect square. So, can this be factored further? Nope, I'm done. I thought that that would trip up more people. It didn't. I thought that that would for sure trip more people up.
So when you factor that, you just look at the first parenthesis?
Yes.
So if it can't do the first one, then it can't do the second one? Like the second sentence?
Well, so can this be factored anymore? No, it's just a plain x.
But can one be factored further than the other?
Yes. So say that this had been an x squared here, minus 16. Can that be factored further?
Yeah.
How?
X, and then 4.
Right, x plus 4, x minus 4. And then what do we do with that x minus 1? You bring it down. Then that's as factored as it gets.
Okay.
Okay? Any other questions? Wonderful.